Okay, Anna Kasparian, host of TYT, a now right-wing grifter. Let's get into it.
Well, maybe not as opposite as you may think. Anna Kasparian is a progressive journalist who comes.
Huh?
drives the left crazy because
I completely agree. I don't think he's got the time or inclation now. He doesn't need to.
I don't know why I did that.
Today, so Hanson, what a fantastic treat to have you on Uncensored. Thank you very much.
well, thank you, Piers. I appreciate it.
Hope we can do it again soon. Thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you.
Well, now for a view from the opposite side of the aisle, but maybe not as opposite as you may think. Anna Kasparian is a progressive journalist and commentator. Best known.
She is no longer progressive. She is grifting towards the right.
For her work alongside my old friend Cenk Uygur and Liberal network The Young Turks, she has some strident views on where it all went wrong for the Democrats in this election, and she's faced an avalanche of personal attacks from Liberal followers for denouncing President Biden, Gavin Newsom, and wokeism, among other Democratic deities. So has Anna Kasparian left the left? Let's find out. She joins me now. Anna, welcome to your Uncensored debut.
Thank you for having me, Piers.
We've tried to lure you on many times, but you haven't taken the Cenk route of coming on just to shout at me, but it's good to have you finally. And we'll get to Cenk later, don't worry. I just want to talk to you.
Well, you need to give me one promise.
Go on.
You have to give me one promise that you guys aren't going to do me dirty in the thumbnail for this video. You promise?
Actually, that is a good. We already found our thumbnail picture. Look at the evil behind her eyes. Like, you can see it. You can see the evil behind her eyes. She's losing. Maybe she never had a soul, but I'm gonna say she's losing her soul.
You know what? I can't promise because we've done some corkers recently, particularly involving Cenk. But as he knows better than anybody, a great thumbnail drives more traffic.
Cenk is also grifting towards the right. Whether intentionally or not, he is following Anna.
That's the game we're in. We want people to watch what we're doing.
True.
Otherwise, what's the point? So we are very proud of our thumbnail.
I mean, if I look attractive, that might actually draw some more eyebrows. So think.
Is she getting more Botox done? She looks like she's had Botox. Let's get right back into it.
Think about it.
Wow, you're playing that card. Well, I admire it. Listen, to be serious, you've made a bit of news recently. We've got a little sot to start with of your reaction to when Trump won in 2016.
I have no respect for women who voted for Trump, okay?
Yeah, me too.
Yeah, this is back when Anna had a soul. Back when she wasn't grifting towards the right.
think so poorly of them, and the reason why is because, look, I don't think that you're a single issue voter. I just think you're dumb, okay? I think you're fucking...
True. Literally true. Back when Anna was using her brain in a good way.
dumb. When you vote for someone who openly treats women like second-class citizens, who talks about them as if they're nothing more than a piece of meat, who has been accused of sexually assaulting them, who has been caught on tape talking about groping them and grabbing them by the pussy without consent, yeah, you're an idiot. You're an...
Literally true. Literally true.
Idiot.
So, Anna, have you moderated your view of Trump voters this time around?
To say the least. That video I am not proud of, I will say that. And, you know, I had a very emotional reaction to news that Trump won in 2016. I was totally blindsided by it. And to be quite frank, I think that attacking voters is one of the worst things you can do. These are our fellow Americans, regardless of who they vote for or what they think. In order for this great experiment in America to work, we have to...
she's grifting towards the right. It's what she's doing right here.
To respect each other. And so that was 8 years ago. I'd like to think that I've matured since then, and I hope that I can prove that maturity through the work that I do today.
You said 5 days before the election, you posted this, I think, to X. I don't support Trump. I also don't think it's helpful to call him a fascist or a Nazi.
Trump is a fascist. By definition, Trump is a fascist. He wants absolute power. He said he will be a dictator on day one. That is an actual quote from Donald Trump himself. I will be a dictator on day one. Day one. Ugh. They don't care. They don't care. Anna's grifting towards the right, and Piers just doesn't give a shit.
Nazi. Those words actually mean something beyond not liking a candidate. I mean, I completely agree with you. And I respected you for saying that, because actually the over-demonization of Trump, all it did...
When you are promising you will be a dictator on day one, people are going to call you a fascist. That is just a fact. Let's continue.
It was help him and damage the left anyway. I mean, it was an act of self-harm, because most reasonable-minded people went, well, hang on, Hitler killed 12 million people. What are you talking about? And if he was such a terrible fascist, why didn't he behave like a fascist for 4 years when he had the chance?
Because he was on a leash. There was people stopping him. Now, there isn't people stopping him. There's nobody stopping him from getting what he wants. Alright. Had to pick something up. Anyway. There is no one stopping him right now. Absolutely nobody.
And the truth is, he didn't. January 6th was awful, and I wrote that at the time, and said it at the time. But other than that, where you could construct an argument for this was the kind of thing you would see in a sort of a banana republic, there's nothing about Trump's first term which screamed fascism to me. And I felt that...
Because he was restrained. He had checks and balances. Hopefully, there are more checks and balances this time. But with the Supreme Court stacked in his favor, I don't think so.
That persistent attack and he's the new Hitler was just ludicrous.
Well,
Didn't his vice president, J.D. Vance, say that Trump was America's Hitler? Just thought I'd bring that up. No reason. Just thought I'd bring that up.
Insulting for the Jewish community that, of course, was victimized by Hitler. It kind of downplays or minimizes the severity and the brutality of Hitler and what he carried out. But, I think that just to play devil's advocate, those who...
Oh, here we go again. Devil's advocate. I fucking hate that term.
Who kind of use phrases or words like fascist in order to describe Donald Trump, they're not using it in an academic sense. They're using it in regard to some of the, authoritarian tendencies that we heard about regarding Donald Trump in his first term. And, you can argue, well, there's a lot of hearsay, there's a lot of comments from disgruntled former administration officials who claim that Trump said these things behind closed doors. If you want to make that argument, that's fine. But even if, let's give those individuals the benefit of the doubt and just assume that Trump did, in fact, say those things during closed-door meetings, it still doesn't rise to the actual definition of a fascist, right? I mean, where are the brown shirts? Where is the military...
They tried to have their brown shirts on January 6th. Can't say that right. They tried. They actively tried.
organized citizenry that's going to carry out, Trump's dirty deeds. It's a
Once again, J6. They tried.
type of hyperbole that I don't think Democrats, and I'm not talking about the voters, I'm talking about Democrats in positions of power, genuinely believed. I think what they did is use tactics of fear and division in order to accumulate votes and support in lieu of having an actual imagination of what this country could be if they implement policies that make the lives of ordinary Americans better. The Democrats have made a deal with the devil, and the devil is their corporate donors. And
Republicans have a lot more corporate donors. A lot more. What is she talking about?
since their corporate donors want very specific things for the donations that they're providing to these politicians, and usually that's policy.
Also, correct me if I'm wrong, but aren't most of the Democratic donations grassroots? Alright, let's continue.
See, that does not bode well for American workers. What Democrats tend to do is lean into tactics of fear, or they talk about culture.
That's exactly what Republicans do, though. Republicans lean way more into tactics of fear and culture war than Democrats. I would say Democrats need to lean more into the culture war. We are losing the culture war, and that costs us the election. We are actively losing the culture war. We lost the election because we lost the culture war.
Culture war issues. Right? They lean into the culture war, and every election cycle they get more and more maximalist with what they claim they want to carry.
Pot calling the kettle fucking black. Once again, Anna is just saying what Republicans are doing, and then saying, this is what the Democrats are doing. Fucking hell, man.
Carry out on these culture war topics, and they've gone too far, and I think Americans have kind of fought back against them.
Yeah, the Democrats they haven't gone far enough. The Democrats have not gone far enough. That's why we lost the election.
You gave three events that you've referenced which made you reassess your political alignment. The first one was when you revealed you'd been sexually assaulted by two homeless people in LA in 2022, and you were accused of stigmatizing your unhoused neighbors, which was a staggering response.
Okay, yeah, there are bad people on the left who do some cringe shit. That doesn't mean that you change your entire politics. Anna hasn't gotten past high school. I don't think she has.
To a woman revealing she'd been sexually assaulted. Tell me about that.
Right. I mean, I hate having to relive it, but yeah, I was walking my dog and there were two men coming toward me, but living in Los Angeles, there is a large homeless population, and I had never been, victimized by anybody before, so I didn't think much of it. As I was bending over to pick up my dog's mess, one of them grabbed me by the hips and with an erection, just started thrusting at me very violently.
Okay, that shouldn't have happened, but you shouldn't change your politics because it happened. That's stupid. Sexual assault is awful when it happens, but it should not change your politics.
I was terrified. I was alone. I didn't have a weapon on me. And so, it took a while for me to get over that, because whether I like it or not, I have to walk my dog. Right. Sometimes I have to do it at night, right? And so I had to kind of think about that every single time I was taking my dog out to walk. And so I had just opened up about it on our show, not really thinking that it was going to lead to backlash. I wasn't even looking for sympathy. It was on my mind, and I just talked about it. And it led to just this wave of, you hate homeless people, you're stigmatized.
Okay, yeah, there's cringe people on the left. We get it. once again, it should not change your politics, Anna. It really shouldn't. You can call out the cringe people on the left without grifting towards the right. That is something that is an option. Look at people like Westside Tyler. Big example. Big example. Keep in mind, this woman was friends with Vosh, the known pedo horse lolly guy. She was friends with him. The sex pervert on the left. Let's continue.
Homeless people. Don't call them homeless people. They're unhoused, which I don't even understand why unhoused is better than saying homeless.
And by the way, these are the same people.
This is what the left likes to do.
Right,
they like to change.
Once again, there are cringe people on both the left and the right. That is a fact of life. Every side of every issue will have bad people.
Change the language instead of actually addressing the issue at hand.
Yeah, and these are the same people who supposedly are there for women, right? And fighting for women and, you know, supporting women and believe women, all this kind of thing. But when it actually came to you, they just were prepared to throw you under a horrific bus and far
There are cringe people on the left and the right. Let's continue.
from treating you as a victim, they almost made you out to be the villain of this story.
They did, but I want to be clear about something. I think that this is a small but incredibly loud and influential faction of the Democratic Party. This is not indicative of all Democrats. This is not indicative of all Democratic lawmakers.
She's trying to play both sides here. But yeah, there is a small section of the left who will do this kind of stuff. That is just a fact of life.
This is a small group of activists who like to bully, who like to go to city council meetings.
Yeah, they're called woke scolds. They're called tenderqueers. They're called cry bullies.
Like to go to various rallies and essentially be loud, be threatening, be aggressive until they get their way. And for far too long, the Democratic Party has been terrified of these little mobs of people, these little mobs of activists, and have basically...
The Democratic Party doesn't care about the woke scolds because they don't vote. There are at least 2 elections every year, and you should be voting in all of them. Vote in all of your elections. Excuse me.
Basically just carried out what these activists want. And I just think that they need to be a little smarter than falling prey to the whims of various activist groups, because they are not...
The Democratic Party is not falling to anyone's whims. Because the people whose whims she's talking about don't vote. And you should be voting. Every election, vote, 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 vote.
Not representative of the majority of Americans. The majority of Americans, especially in a state like California, want homeless people to be housed, but they also understand that this issue is far more complicated than the housing first policy of throwing anyone who doesn't have a home into an apartment, right? Because the fact of the matter is we have severe mental health issues out on our streets right now, people who are struggling with severe drug addiction. Some of these people actually do have families to go to or homes to go to. They need a different type of service. They need rehabilitation, not harm.
I agree with this part, but I know she's going to spin it into some sort of right-wing bullshit.
Production where we're just passing out needles and crack pipes, thinking that it's going to solve the problem.
Nobody's handing out needles and crack pipes. The government is not handing out needles and crack pipes. What the fuck? Stop lying, Anna.
It has not solved the problem. It has made the lives of these individuals struggling on the streets far worse, and it has also made the lives of hardworking, tax-paying Americans in states like California a lot worse.
Yeah.
Anna, you're lying here. You're lying, Anna. Can you please stop lying? Is it possible? I don't think it is. I think she's gonna continue lying. We'll see.
When I look at my life right now and I ask myself, which political party has made my life worse? It's not the Republican Party. Locally speaking, the Democrats have complete control and they have nearly destroyed my family's livelihood. Okay? We are living in trash and squalor everywhere. And unless
There is no trash and squalor everywhere. What are you talking about? Anna. Stop lying. Stop lying.
the Democratic Party actually acknowledge these issues and solve these issues rather than stealing our taxpayer money and funneling it to their nonprofit friends, they keep doing this, they're going to keep losing. And I'm going to keep speaking out against them. I don't care how much they hate Trump. I don't care how naughty the Republicans are being. Right now, the people having a negative impact on my life is the Democratic Party, and they need to change their ways. When we say we want to change the status...
This is her grifting to the right. Because the right-wing money... the right has more money to give. You can get more money by grifting towards the right. I could be grifting towards the right with my 50-something subscribers. And then, like, the next day, I could have, like, a billion. Because I get consumed by some greedy, evil organization without a soul. I don't do that. Because I want to speak on issues like this. I don't want to sell out my soul, and Anna clearly has.
Quo. It doesn't mean we want to live in anarchy. It doesn't mean that we want to have $24 billion of our taxpayer money in California stolen by these nonprofits. It means
there is not 24 million tax dollars going to nonprofits, to my knowledge. I could be wrong about that. But to my knowledge, most funding that goes to charities is from donations. Do you know what a donation is, Anna? It's not taxpayers.
That we want working people to be rewarded for their hard work. We want affordable housing. We want better working conditions, higher wages, better health care. These are things that Democrats used to purport to want to do.
They still do. The tax cuts for affordable housing and the tax cuts for first-time homebuyers that Kamala Harris was running on was this. This is what that was. And she lost. Because not enough people voted. And also because she didn't engage with the culture war as much.
They don't do any of it anymore. And so I'm done with them until they change their ways.
Yeah, I completely understand it.
Basically what she's saying here is, I'm going to grift towards the right until the Democratic Party shifts more right-leaning. And better aligns with me in my stupidity.
You also got blowback when you posted, "I'm a woman. Please don't ever refer to me as a person with a uterus."
Yeah, maybe that's because she didn't understand what that word is used for. It is mainly a word that is in legal and medical terminology. Nobody's going to Anna and saying, "Hey, are you a birthing person?" They don't do that. Anna was just being transphobic.
Or a person who menstruates. How do people not realize how degrading this is? You can support the transgender community without doing this shit. And I
It's for legal reasons. It's so that trans people don't get discriminated against in the law or misgendered in the law. Let's say a law gets passed, like reinstating Roe v. Wade, but it uses the word woman instead of person who menstruates or person with a uterus. Something like Texas can be like, yeah, you're trans, you can't get an abortion. It states for women. That's what this language is avoiding. That's exactly what this language is avoiding.
Completely agree with you. The way that language about women has been eradicated at the altar of transgender activism, I find utterly obscene. Then you add the ridiculous assault on women's rights to fairness and equality in sport, the invasion of women's say-so.
There was like 5 trans women in high school sports. It's not that big of an issue.
Bases, we had a First Minister of Scotland, the head of the Scottish government, who had to resign because she took a male rapist and put him into a female prison when he just put his hand up and said, by the way, I'm now a woman, because he wanted to get out of a male prison where he'd be treated bad.
I don't believe that. There is more behind that situation. I know it. I will probably research that on my own time. Let's continue.
Badly and get near to new prey. That was Nicola Sturgeon. She was the First Minister of Scotland. It's incredible. But the reaction you got, I can imagine what it was, because we've seen what happens when J.K. Rowling and people like that, when I've done it. You put your head over that parapet, you get unbelievable abuse and threats and so on. Is that what happened to you?
Yeah,
J.K. Rowling is an idiot. And isn't she being poisoned by black mold? Isn't that something that's just happening to her?
I mean, I did not expect that tweet to go as viral as it did. I didn't expect the kind of hatred I got in response to it. But look, that's okay. It's fine, right? I'm a public figure, and
the response was because you're wrong and people were trying to correct you. That's the reason you got that response.
And whether I like it or not, I signed up for any type of, harassment, abuse, whatever that you get online as a result of stating your opinions. Look, the main point I want to make about the transgender community is that these are human beings, okay? They deserve to be treated with respect and dignity. And when it comes to any issue that has a real impact on their lives, housing, employment, all of that, there should be protection for this community, and we should respect the fact that they're human beings. At the same time, there are some issues that arise where the rights of one group, in this case, the transgender community, kind of conflicts with the rights of another group.
No. The language used in law and in the medical field, for example, people with a uterus or people who menstruate, is so that the law does not discriminate or misgender people. No one is demanding that you call every woman a person who menstruates. Absolutely nobody.
The rights of women. And what I think is important is that we actually have a real dialogue, a civil dialogue, about how we move forward in a way where both parties feel that they're being treated fairly and with dignity.
What a load of crap. She's just grifting here. She doesn't care. She knows why this language is instated in both the medical and legal field. She doesn't care. She really doesn't care.
I think that needs to be like the foundation of the conversation.
Right, but I do not like, for example, I like flying a lot. I fly with British Airways normally, and I'm used to a nice, smooth-talking British Airways pilot announcing, "Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to your flight." They're not allowed to say that anymore. They're not allowed to use the words ladies and gentlemen in case there happens to be somebody who doesn't identify as a lady.
Okay, who the fuck cares? Actually, who the fuck cares? No, really, if you care about this shit, why? Tell me. Why do you care about this shit? Do you think the big bad woke is gonna come after you?
Lady or gentleman
Give me a fucking break.
on board, right? Which is likely to be a tiny number of people, right? On a plane of 600-700 people, how many are we talking? 1, 2, maybe none, right?
Okay, who cares? Once again, who cares?
But for them, the entire language about the vast majority of people has to be eradicated, to which I say, where are my rights to be called a gentleman? Or a woman's right?
People will still call you a gentleman if you ask them. As long as you're not being a bitch about it. Just because language is getting more broad in formal settings doesn't mean that people won't call you a gentleman or people won't call Anna a lady.
Right to be called a lady. It may seem a small thing, but it's all part of...
That's because it is a small thing. And you being mad over it is fucking stupid. Absolutely fucking stupid.
the same process of eradicating gender-specific language for a tiny minority and against the interests, in my opinion, of the vast majority. Where are our
Okay, who cares? Actually, who cares?
rights as the majority to actually have the language that we would like?
Well, I was unfamiliar with that story. What do they say in lieu of ladies and gentlemen?
They just use gender-neutral language, so I can't even remember. But it's like they call us.
You can't remember because it doesn't matter. It has no real effect. You are just making a mountain out of a molehill. You are just whining, bitching, moaning, pissing your fucking pants over something that you can't even remember what they are saying because it affects you that little.
Passengers, and it's all just very stilted and gender neutral, as you now see.
Who the fuck cares?
In schools and everything else. I mean, I know there's a girls' school in England, for example, which is actually called, I think it's the Altrincham School for Girls up in the north of England, but you're not allowed to call the students who go there girls.
Okay, who the fuck cares? Actually, who cares? Who the fuck cares?
Because there may be trans people offended, but they've kept the title of the school as a girls' school, so they sell entry to this school to prospective parents as a girls' school. But once your little girl goes there, no one will call her a girl, including the
What? This has no effect on anything. You are just pissing and crying. Actually, you are just pissing and crying, Piers.
teachers.
That makes no sense. If it's an all-girls school, why would it
It's
be
ludicrous.
a problem? I guess
Obviously,
if there
it's
might
ludicrous. Yeah.
Yeah, look, the way that
Piers is shitting his diaper over gender-inclusive language for no reason.
I basically deal with this is I have a team of producers that help me produce the Young Turks daily. And I always refer to my team as, like, if I'm texting them about an element I need for a story, I'll always text with, hey guys, I need X, Y, and Z. Most of the people in my team are actually women.
Yeah, guys is a gender-inclusive term, just like y'all at this point, or bro.
And so none of them are, I actually asked them, I'm like, are you guys at all offended that I say, hey guys? It's just kind of the way we spoke. Like in my generation, we kind of address a group of people as, hey guys.
Who cares
and
anyway?
they're totally fine with it because guess what? Because guess what? Most people are fine with it.
Yes.
Most people don't care. I
Yes.
just want to go back to what I said earlier about the small, loud group
Yes.
of activists.
Yeah.
Just because they're louder doesn't mean that they're representative of the general population.
Yeah.
This is boring. This is really boring.
I really do think that it's up to these various entities, these various, governmental agencies to kind of take a stand. And I think
agree.
in some cases, our language does change.
This is just called free speech. Like, if companies want to use gender-inclusive language, that's well within their rights because of free speech. That's the First Amendment, baby. Freedom of speech.
Change.
But not freedom of consequences.
And I think it makes sense. But in some cases, it changes because you have activist groups pushing for it and it doesn't make sense. So let's be a little smarter. Let's use our common sense.
The third thing that you cited was a story of a guy called Jeff in your apartment block who you became friends with before you realized he was a Trump supporter. And that changed your view of what a Trump supporter actually could be like. Tell me about that.
I have friends who like Trump. Anna is just peaked in high school. She is trying to involve everything in like these little high school cliques. Normal people don't get their perception changed of what a Trump supporter is just because they're friends with one. Like, I will disagree with my friends if they say something stupid. I'll say, hey, that's a little cringe. Or like, make a little cringe face.
Well, I think that in Trump's first term, a lot of people placed themselves in silos. So I was very much in a left-wing silo where I kind of refused.
High school cliques is basically what she's saying.
To have any kind of relationship with someone who had voted for Trump. And so as a result...
That's stupid. That's actually stupid. Anna, that was a stupid decision. Why?
I was allowing kind of like the Democratic Party and mass media to paint a picture of all Trump supporters without really...
Once again, that's stupid. Like, that's actual high school level shit. That's idiocy. Anna, you're just being stupid. You were stupid then, and you're just lying while being stupid now.
Really investigating it. I just kind of accepted what their summation was. Jeff, who I love, and I kind of feel bad because now, like, a lot of people are talking about him, and he didn't ask for me to mention him. But anyway, I met him at a time when I needed help. Like, I was moving into this building. My husband wasn't available. He was going to a fire academy training. And so
who cares? Really, who cares? I don't want to hear about Jeff. I really don't. I don't give a shit about Jeff. Actually.
That time, I'm like lugging my husband's heavy bicycle up the stairs, and Jeff comes across and just says, can I help you with that? He grabs the bike and he basically helped me move in. And this guy doesn't know me. This guy...
Okay, cool. I don't care. Once again, I have friends who like Trump. And they can help with some shit. Yeah, cool. I really don't care. You had your whole world changed because someone was nice to you. That's gotta be the stupidest shit I've ever heard. Let's continue.
I really had no reason to help me, but he dropped everything he was doing and decided to dedicate the rest of the day to helping me out, getting to know me. And throughout, the subsequent weeks and months, we got to know each other better. really, really sweet guy. And then one day we're at an HOA meeting. I remember we're sitting together on the...
Jesus Christ, she's in an HOA. That's how you know she's a prissy little princess.
couch as the meeting's going on. And a woman in our building stood up and she said something negative about Trump. And I was shocked because Jeff whispers in my ear, you know, oh, if she's going to be trashing Trump, then I'm out of here. And that made me realize, oh, he's a Trump supporter. And so I investigated that a little more. I was curious about his politics.
Once again, who cares? Like, actually, who cares? Nobody gives a shit. We don't need to hear your life story, Anna. She's saying nothing right here.
He was a lifelong Democrat. He loved JFK, voted for JFK. And he just said, I feel like we should support our president. Even if it's someone that you did not support, you did not vote for, he's our president now. And so he explained where he was politically, but it actually didn't matter to me because I got to know who Jeff was as a person prior to understanding or knowing about his politics.
Yeah, what clique you're in shouldn't affect the people you associate with. As long as they're not fucking crazy, I'll get along with anyone. Y'all can debate me on this. Like, actually, I'll debate you on this. If you disagree with me, I will debate you. If you disagree with me that people should be friends, unless they're like absolutely crazy, I'll debate you.
And so that didn't just wake me up to how Trump supporters are not a monolith. It woke me up to the fact that
nobody's a monolith. Absolutely nobody's a monolith. Even cult members like Jehovah's Witness are their own people. They are just brainwashed. And you can be unbrainwashed. Unfortunately, Anna doesn't care about that.
That all of us are complex human beings. And we should not have one side of us or one element of who we are define the entirety of our character,
right,
or the entirety of who we are as people. So that's what I was trying to say.
You've come under a bit of flack, both for your pivot, as it seemed, from left to right. The attack.
Yeah, that's because it is a pivot. It's absolutely a pivot from left to right.
Attacks have been led by Laura Loomer, who I'm on record as saying is a complete lunatic. But she said, here we have another political opportunist in the...
Lauren Loomer is not only a complete lunatic, but an idiot. She's also an idiot.
Form of you, Anna Kasparian, and as a malicious and pathological liar who has spent...
That's because Anna is lying. She's grifting. She knows what she's doing. She absolutely knows what she's doing.
Years with her co-host, Cenk Uygur, lying about and trying to cancel every outspoken Trump supporter, including myself. She spread delusional lies about Trump, but now in a low-cut top and a full face of makeup, she wants to tell some make-believe story about a guy called Jeff, who all of a sudden made her realize that 80 million people are all unique individuals and not Nazis. Come on. Nobody is buying this garbage. Anna's trying to remain relevant to the changing media landscape after she's made...
That's the only thing I'll agree with Lauren on, actually, possibly. Anna is changing her policies because she wants more money. It's greed. It's just greed.
It's serious cash, bashing people like me who actually busted my ass to help Trump get elected. He's a full-blown liar. We need to reject people like...
True. Anna is a liar. I never thought I'd agree with Lauren Loomer on this. Breaking news, the worst person you know is right about something.
There's blah, 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 blah. What's your response to Ms. Loomer?
Well, my response is actually going to clarify something you said a little earlier, which is my pivot from the left to right. I would not describe what I'm currently espousing as right wing.
She's gonna do the politically homeless narrative because she wants more money. She wants to maximize her money. She is pivoting right wing. That is what she's doing.
I have been, basically, on economic policies, I'm very much left wing. I have rejected the Democratic Party because they sell a bill of goods that I'm not interested anymore. Same with the...
She's economically liberal, but socially... She's doing the economically liberal, but socially conservative bit. She's grifting. She's absolutely grifting.
Republican Party, generally speaking. So I consider myself unaligned, and I have moderated my views.
She's doing the politically homeless centrist narrative. She's grifting. Once again, she's grifting all the way through.
On a handful of some social issues. So that's where I am right now. I really am unaligned. Neither political party represents my best interest. With that in mind, I think Laura Loomer is worried that I'm going to vie for some sort of role in Trump's White House or in the Trump ecosystem. And I just want to let her know I'm not vying for any of that. I'm very happy where I am at work. I don't want to push you out of whatever position you have in the Trump universe. Like, the fact that she brought up my physical appearance, I thought was
She's saying nothing here. Absolutely saying nothing.
Interesting. I'm sensing a little bit of jealousy, if I may say.
This is just high school mean girl shit. Like, actually, this is just high school mean girl shit.
It seems like it. It seems like it. And I'm not really looking to roll around in the mud with someone like Laura Loomer. So
No,
I just
God,
want
I
to
can't think
let
of
her
anything
know
worse.
everything's going to be okay, Laura.
Yeah, I think of all the
know.
million things you could suggest that I might least want to do, number one would be rolling in the mud with Laura Loomer. But what people have said is they said you were quite outspoken. I'll play it to you. This is what you said when Dave Rubin pivoted. Let's have a look.
There has been this prevalence of prominent figures who identify as the left, right, or on the left.
Yeah, she's calling out what she's doing now in the past. She knows what she's doing. She doesn't care.
Then later start to, you know, cozy up to right-wing figures, and then it turns out that they completely move to the right wing because they're essentially paid to do it. They're used as tools by the right wing to essentially spew right-wing talk.
That's what she's doing. She's calling out her future self right here.
Points while purporting to still be on the left. In fact, Dave Rubin's a great example of that. Dave Rubin used to work with us. He identified as someone on the left.
Dave,
yeah, go ahead.
Forgive me, Anna. Dave Rubin made a video for PragerU, Why I Left the Left.
Oh, I know.
He does not, in fact, state to the world that he's still on the left. I don't know who you have in mind, so I can only address the one name that you gave.
So, I mean, have you pulled a Rubin, as some people suggest?
She has. She absolutely has.
I mean, I'm still pretty left-wing, and I'm still working at the exact same place. Look, I don't know. Maybe I was wrong about...
You are making TYT more right-wing. You don't have to leave the studio or the corporation you're in to move right wing. You can move the corporation right wing.
About Dave Rubin, but I just felt that he, first of all, after he left TYT, he did lie about us, and that bothered me because we were still friends, and I didn't understand what was going on, so I was discombobulated about what was happening with Dave after he left TYT. He did leave on good terms, so it was weird. And, you know, he kept saying that he was this classical liberal, but had trouble defining what that meant and had trouble reinforcing or at least backing up some of the claims that he was making about, you know, his newfound identity. So, look, live and let live. Dave is doing his thing. I did feel that his pivot was strange, but maybe it was sincere. Who knows?
Well, you know, it's interesting. Somebody accused me...
It was not. He's grifting. You're grifting. there's a bunch of grifters on the right. There are genuine actors on the right, but even people like Ben Shapiro play up their right-wing narrative. I think Caitlyn Poopy Pants Bennett was a genuine believer. And then she, like, got a husband, fucked off, and became barefoot and pregnant. And honestly, all the power to her. She left the internet. She did what she believed in. And then you have people on the right who have pivoted leftward, like, I think her name is Bethany from Girl Defined. And, like, good on ya. Good on you, Bethany. You're learning.
Being a Republican, it was Brian Tyler Cohen, I think. He said, "You're obviously a Republican." Or why'd you have? He was one of them. And I said, "Look, I'm not a Republican. I'm somebody who identifies as liberal, but who has increasingly felt in recent years that I have absolutely nothing in common with modern day far left woke supposed liberals whose..."
Yeah, society's progressing and you're not moving along with it. Okay? I really don't care. Yeah, society's moving leftward. And you're mad at that. You're pooping your diaper. You are shitting your diaper, pissing your pants, because society wants to progress.
Whole behavioral pattern is not remotely liberal. It's actually a form of modern day fascism, which is
It's not fascism at all.
Incredibly ironic, given that they would say fascism is the one thing they hate most in the world. And I feel a bit like Bill Maher and people like that who become more popular actually to conservatives because they said the same thing. And I'm kind of like that, where I would say I'm probably a centrist now. I don't identify as to the right.
He's doing the centrist narrative. A lot of the time, centrists are either useful tools to the right or just right-wing, and they don't want to say it for whatever reason.
Or conservative, but I have nothing in common with the woke left at all. I find them preposterous people.
Yeah, I think a lot of people feel that way. I probably feel similar to you to some extent, maybe not as extreme. I don't refer to myself as a centrist per se, but I definitely feel far more independent now than I ever have in my life. Because you're right. I mean, you do look at the two political parties, dominant political parties in the United States, and I used to identify so strongly with what the Democratic Party represented, but as they have kind of devolved further and further down this like rabbit hole of max.
Yeah, because you don't care. Society's progressing, and you're staying the same. You're not learning anything. You refuse to learn. I don't fucking know what that was. I'm sorry, there's like tractors going by or something.
Maximalist policies for like very specific groups of people, and that's the other thing. I'm just so tired of constantly focusing on how our identities or our race, our gender, our sexual orientation, how different that makes us from one another. No, you're a working class American, you've got a lot more in common.
People are mostly discussing the harm that people on the right can cause to marginalized groups. There is differences, and in our differences there is strength. Talking about our differences makes us stronger. It does not make us weaker.
With an Asian working class American, a transgender working class American, you know, a gay working class American,
than
Trump
you do
with a black person who was...
Trump did not understand that. He doesn't care. He only cares about himself and the rich. Trump really only cares about getting power and money.
Chosen to be the head of a major Fortune 500 company. I probably have less in common with that woman than I would with a working class American from a different background.
Yes.
You are not working class, Anna. You are the head of a gigantic media organization. What are you talking about? Actually, Anna, what the fuck are you talking about?
I
or
think
a
Trump,
white woman who's a CEO of a Fortune 500 company. I have less in common with her.
Totally agree. I think Trump brilliantly tapped into that. I think he recognized that.
He did
and
not.
the fact that so many Black Americans, Latino Americans, Jewish Americans, Muslim Americans, white Americans, the fact they all turned out to vote for him in such big numbers shows that he managed to smash through all the ethnicity and religious divides and everything else. And he just tapped into things they all cared about, which were cost of living.
That I kind of agree with. We lost because Trump was more bold. He was more ruthless. The Democrats need to be ruthless. We need to be evil. Ruthlessness is mercy upon ourselves. We cannot have any mercy towards the Republican Party. That's not to say the people. I'm talking about the people like Piers Morgan, Ben Shapiro, the pundits, the actual politicians. We have to be ruthless towards them.
Legal immigration, and I would also add the woke culture, which has become increasingly antithetical to what most people want to see their lives led like. They don't want to live in a life of fascist kind of control where everyone gets cancelled for saying the wrong thing or reading the wrong book or laughing at the wrong moment of a joke, etc. I want to play you a clip. This is Kamala Harris. For some inexplicable reason, the Democrats put out this clip last night of Kamala Harris, which is, I can't even imagine the logic other than chucking it under a bus. Let's take a look.
I just have to remind you, don't you ever let anybody take your power from you. You have the same power that you did before November 5th. And you have the same purpose that you did. And you have the same ability to engage and inspire.
Yes, she's absolutely correct here. She's absolutely correct here. Well done, Kamala.
So don't ever let anybody or any circumstance take your power from you.
I mean, she just looked like a broken woman to me. This was the woman who was selling.
She just lost an election. She's sad. Yeah. I would be sad too. But she was inspiring there. She was trying to inspire you guys through her sadness. She was trying to inspire us through her sadness. She was fighting through her sadness to inspire people.
As Joy, who looked utterly miserable, still talking in a kind of generalized word salad way.
She just lost an election. Of course she's going to be sad.
And also, and talking nonsense, because of course, the Democrats just took a massive drubbing.
No, she wasn't talking nonsense. She was just saying a general inspirational speech. Like, yeah, you still have that power of democracy. You can still vote next election. Vote. Canvass. Do something!
And it's on her watch. So, of course, they're all going to feel that not as confident and strong as they were before. They need a radical rethink, I think, the Democrats. But it was kind of sad, wasn't it, that video?
No, it was inspiring. I think it was inspiring. I think it was absolutely inspiring.
I mean, I thought it was kind of funny. Like, I see myself as a 22-year-old at 3 in the morning at a bar talking to a best friend.
Yeah.
Okay, that's what I sound like.
Yes.
Don't let anybody take your power away from you. So, like, okay, but
I still believe in you.
There is I still believe in you, exactly. But putting that aside, You know, there's a part of me that feels a little bad for Kamala Harris because I do feel that she was basically set up to lose, right? I mean,
absolutely. She was set up to lose. She didn't have enough time to actually properly campaign. And the people in America thought that she wasn't elected properly. We should never make this mistake again. We should have kept Biden in or had him drop out before he even ran again. This mistake should be a learning opportunity for the Democratic Party to never switch someone in at the last minute ever again.
You have Joe Biden coming out of the gate saying that he's going to tap a black woman for his VP. When you do that, what it signals to the rest of the country is that, you know, you're gonna pick a token to make a point, and it's not based on merit. And I think that's
that's just racism. VPs are picked to speak to the people that the presidential nominee cannot. The person campaigning cannot speak to everybody. So they need to fill in that gap. That's why Kamala picked Tim Walz, because he could speak to more people than she could. That's the job of the VP.
an issue and it doesn't look good. But then on top of that, really the person who deserves a great deal of blame, actually the people who deserve a great deal of blame, is Joe Biden, who refused to drop out of the race, decided to run for a second term, even though he had...
I agree with that. I absolutely agree with that. He should have either stayed in or dropped out before. I think he could have won. Or at least it would have been close. Who knows? Maybe this entire election was doomed for the Democrats from the start. There was a giant incumbent disadvantage worldwide. There was a whole bunch of shit that I'll get into another time. Because we are going on an hour now. A little over.
Promised not to run for a second term. And all of the campaign officials surrounding him, who, by the way, just yesterday on Pod Save America, admitted that after Biden had that disastrous debate performance, they didn't have a plan B, they didn't engage in a plan B. The only thing they were hyper-focused on was keeping Biden in the race.
Yeah, because switching someone in so late into the election would be a losing situation. It would be a fucking disaster. Absolutely a disaster.
How irresponsible is that? Because even if, best case scenario for them...
What's irresponsible is switching the nominee 100 days out from the election.
Biden is somehow able to eke out a win, which of course now we know based on their internal polling that wasn't going to happen. But let's say if it did happen, they're totally fine with having an elderly man with that level of cognitive decline leading this country. They're okay with that.
Biden would have been fine as president for a second term. He still has his brains. They aren't leaking out of his ears like Trump.
And then they want to fearmonger about Trump. I'm sorry, but the Democratic Party has lost its credibility entirely.
Totally agree. There's some breaking news I wanted just to mention to you. Quite serious, actually. Several people nominated to roles in Donald Trump's incoming cabinet and administration have been targeted by bomb threats and swatting.
That is not good. You should not be targeting people with bomb threats and swatting. Ever. I don't care what side of the aisle you're on. I don't care what side of the aisle they're on. That is not good. I do not agree with that.
Caroline Levitt said last night and this morning several of President Trump's cabinet nominees and administration appointees were targeted in violent, un-American threats to their lives and those who live with them. Law enforcement say the threats included a bomb threat on the home of Congresswoman Elise Stefanik.
Yeah, this is not good. This is absolutely awful. I think that's where we're going to wrap up for the day. Like, subscribe, comment, ring the bell icon, and goodbye. I'll see y'all next time.